Hi, everyone. Today we will talk about, of course, Docker, and I think I am in the right place. So, first of all, how are you? Was the lunch good? I think it was very healthy. Anybody, you know? So yes, this presentation will be very straightforward. I have multiple demos. One or some of them might fail, but let's see. So the idea is very simple. To show you 3 different features in action. So if you are really up to date with Docker, you probably know all 3 of them. And so we'll also make some poll later. So before we start, who am I? I'm Francesco Ciulla. I am developer advocate at Daily.dev, and I'm also very active on X and YouTube. Sorry for the poor... OK, so we're in 2023, and there have been 10 years of Docker. So now this is not a lesson about the history of Docker, but 10 years, it's a lot. We know in tech, it's more than an era. So there has been a huge evolution, and it has been created by Ix Solomon. And also this year, there will be also the DockerCon. I'll also be there in a month, something like that. So let's go straight to the point, and let's see 3 features. So 3 main features released. I think they released all 3 of them in 2023. Some of them are in early access or in beta features. So disclaimer, don't use them straightforward in production, and we'll see them in action very soon. Let's start. So the first one is Docker Init. How many of you have ever used Docker Init? Not many. 0. OK, nice. OK, perfect. I was expecting the opposite. So what is Docker Init? Docker Init is something super cool. I've also been thinking of doing something like that for a while, but now it's embedded into Docker. So probably that, you know, that famous side projects that you say, maybe one day I'll do it. Now they have embedded it. So the idea is to initialize a project. So we know that when we containerize something, it's a great process, at least from my point of view, but it's a bit repetitive. So when there is something repetitive, like I created a Docker file, I created the .docker ignore, I created the Docker compose file. So, and it's always the same. And even if we use different technologies, that seems that could be done in a better way. So I think that it's harder than what it seems because the projects are different. Projects, they have different dependencies, slightly different versions, so something that might work, I don't know, in Python in a version, maybe in another version is not exactly the same, but it would be nice to have something to get started. And this is exactly what Docker Init is. So the cool thing is that it's integrated in the CLI, so you can type Docker Init. You need that version, so please update your Docker desktop version. I did this today before coming to the presentation, otherwise you would have witnessed my updating Docker live. So nice that I checked that. So very simple concept. It creates these following files in the same folder. So .docker ignore, Docker file, compose.yml. And I'll do it also soon. We will make a super simple example. So Docker Init currently, like today, I hope, if they are not changing something this morning, it currently supports 4 different languages. So Go, Node.js, Python, and Rust. Yes, I know that Node.js it's not a language, but I know someone thought that. Or there is also this generic one. I didn't try it, to be honest. I tried, I think, a couple of them. So we will have this very simple prompt. It's a CLI tool. And in particular, we will use the Node version today with a very simple hello world. You see, I don't know if you can see, but there are a different set of questions honestly, I did this slide just because to look it a bit more fancy, but you have different things, and this maybe will change in the future, so we will see. Of course, this is still in beta. Let's go straight forward to a demo. No, every time I have to do this. Okay, nice. So to make this demo, we need an application. So let's go here. So let's create a very simple hello world. Make there live. Okay. Because I created the folder before the presentation, but I didn't do CD. Okay. Okay. So we are in this folder. So first of all, let's create. Okay. So we can create a new npm project. As I said, I'll use a node project. Okay. And then, I don't know, I can install Express. Anything works. I think let's go with a very simple one. And then I can create a file called index.js. Okay. And now let's see. So we can do Express hello world. So we are basically creating a very simple application here. We use GitHub Copilot. This will be probably the easiest demo in the whole conference. Okay, I think that we should be set. It should be this one. So, okay, so I simulated that we have a sort of application. Now, to Dockerize this application, what would we do? We start with creating a Docker file, .dockerignore, right? Okay. Nice. Okay, so let's try this command together. So docker init. Can you see a bit bigger? Maybe do it. Let's do like this. Better. Okay. Okay. So docker init. Okay. As you can see, we have some options here at the bottom. So we have Node, Go, Python, Rust, other. So let's select a Node. Version of Node, this is okay, but we can also change another one. Package manager, I go with npm, old style. And command to start, node index.js, it's correct. And the port 3000. Nice. Okay, you see what happened here at the top left. So this was empty. And we have 3 files. Let's go very fast into this. So this is like a very good version, of course, of a Docker file. So it's not the usual Docker file that you can see in a tutorial. Why? Because it's done by Docker. So they are doing this arg. They are using this from with an argument of the node version. We are using the environment variable. So it's a bit better than me creating a Docker file. Maybe even better, I think, than a GitHub Copilot one. So. And as you can see, if you have used Docker with Node.js at least once, usually we do something like we copy the package.json, the package lock.json with a star, you know, the trick. And this is, I think, a bit better. So I trust that this is a better version. It uses bind mounts. So it's, I think it's a better one. There's also this copy dot, should be familiar with this. And we have this command. So this seems very straightforward. I was very surprised by the dockerignore because usually I put just a couple of lines, and here there are like many things. So I think this is probably a very good version of this dockerignore. And last but not least, we have also already a compose.yml. I still create file called docker-compose.yml, but I think also compose.yml works. And as you can see here, so there are a lot of comments, and we have one service called the server. It's already set with the build context. Usually I do this manually. We have the environment variable and the port that we passed. Okay, so this is very simple. Now, okay, so the job of Docker init is done. So now I can try to do Docker compose up. And we should have this very simple project. Let's see. I didn't. Did I put the log? No. Okay. Nice. Okay. What happened? I think that. Wait. Let me check. I didn't store the dependency. What happened here? Okay, it didn't work. Let's see why.
The command it showed had ---- build in it. Did it make any difference?
Let me check. It should create. The build. Let's see. No. Let me. You are right. Thank you. You see, the simplest demos, they are the worst. Stop recording, please. Nice. Okay. Nice. Thank you. Okay. So we have this. Okay. This one. Okay. So this is a very simple one. We will use this same amazing project later. Nice. So this is an example of the Docker Init. Let's go back to the slides now. And okay, present, and I'll go again in. I have to do this. So okay. Nice. Okay. So this was the first one of the three. So okay, second one, Docker Scout. So how many of you have ever heard about Docker Scout? No? Did you? Okay. Nice. So Docker Scout is all about vulnerabilities of images. So why do we need, or we might need, something like this? And this is not a super new idea. There are already companies doing this. There is like a set of tools who create something to scan vulnerabilities inside Docker image, which is, at the end of the day, is just a file, of course. So the layers, they are, of course, one on top of each other, and they are based on other software. So there might be one or many vulnerabilities. To be honest, I think that vulnerabilities, there are so many, but what are important, it's maybe the critical ones. So, of course, and so this can make you wrap exposed to attacks, especially, of course, if you do something which is in production. So Docker Scout is a tool that can help to find these vulnerabilities. And what I really like about the concept of Docker Scout is that since it's backed by Docker itself, there is this last line. So vulnerabilities are all about doing something up to date. So by having this done directly by Docker, of course, they can easily embed something in a database to identify some vulnerabilities. And they add this in something called SBOM, Software Bill of Materials. Okay, so there are four demos, four ways to use Docker Scout, and I like the idea that you can use this in many different ways. So now I'll try to show all four of them, and since like it was the first demo, we will stay here for a couple of hours probably, but let's try to use the Docker Scout in all the four different ways. And they say that it supports also integration with third-party systems, but to be honest, I didn't try this. But it's good that they are at least thinking that this can be done. So the first one, I think I can do this even one-handed, so maybe. So it's a Docker Desktop. So if you go on Docker Desktop, now it has this little leaf because they are putting this like in sleep mode. Okay, so from here, Docker Desktop, super easy. You should have, if you updated Docker Desktop here, you see. So you go on Docker Desktop, you can test this with some image, especially if you're logged in. But I think the most interesting part is not here, but here in images, when you can check some of them. Maybe we can even try this one. You see, this is live server. This is, I think, the last one we did 4 minutes ago. And I can do, OK. So, and here you can see the vulnerabilities, of course, not about our projects, but the image our application is based on. So our application is based on a Node image. So these are basically the vulnerabilities of Node, of course, not of my index.js file. Nice. So this is the Docker Scout for Docker Desktop. Now, we can also use it directly from Docker Hub. I'll try to stay one-handed, so we'll do this in a better way. How many of you know what Docker Hub is? You know what Docker Hub is? Okay, it's a sort of GitHub for images. Okay. Okay. And so here, if you go on any repository, you have a repository of images, and you already can see something here. But I think that you can go on here. I think it's like this. Yes. So here, if you're familiar with Docker Hub, before you didn't have something like this. So this is basically they integrated the vulnerabilities. You should do, I think it's one more step, like you should click like activate Docker Desktop, Docker Scout, but I already activated that, so there is not that part. Okay, then there is something else, which is the Docker Scout dashboard. I can't find it now. I think it was here. A moment, let's see. I can't find it. Let's see here. Let's go up. Oh, or I can check it. There was a moment. It's right here. The tag, I think here. No, there is not. A moment. Let me just check it. Because it's something separate that you access Docker Scout dashboard. Let's see if Google. No. Okay. Yeah, it's not integrated super well. Why sign in? But basically, you can go here directly from Docker Hub. Redirected me to Docker Hub. It should be here somewhere. Otherwise, I'll put the link. But usually, it's let's see, here, maybe in the settings. In the settings, you see, it's a bit hidden because it's a very early access. There is this link. Usually, I go from here. I don't know if there was not in the other images. Okay. And so here you have basically, okay, and let me make this a bit bigger. Okay, and so here we're basically, this is I think this will change a bit in the future in the UI, but you have this overview, you have the image, you see it's a bit different. You see here Docker Scout early access at the top, and here you have an overview of these vulnerabilities, CVCS. Okay, nice. Nice. Now, I want to show you that you can also use Docker Scout directly from the command line. This was the Docker Scout dashboard. So you can use this also directly from the CLI. So we have a terminal interface. And you can do basically the same thing. But I think this might be interesting, especially if you are a fan of using the terminal or you want to use some tool that maybe uses the terminal itself. Okay, so to install it, you can just check the documentation, but it's basically just one command to install it. So it's a separate, for now it's a separate script. Probably in the future this will be integrated directly inside Docker Desktop, but I like that for now it's something separate. If you are a fan, you remember that Docker Compose itself, it was installed separate other than Docker Desktop some years ago. Okay. Nice. So these are like the 4 commands that we can run. So let's try to run them from the command line and see what how this will look. So I have here the commands. They're a bit small. So let's see. Let's go here. Okay. So basically, they created a whole set of new commands. So like we have Docker container run or Docker image build, we will have a Docker scout something, the command, and then of course the option, the value. So I do a copy paste here. So Docker scout repo enable. So this is usually, you can see. Okay. So check here at the very top. So the very first one is basically to enable, this is Francesco XX, it's not my X account, but it's my account on Docker Hub, and it's basically to enable the connection with your account. I think you need to be logged in Docker Hub to use it. So this should do nothing because I already did it. Okay, so basically enable, and these are basically all the images that I have on Docker Hub, all of the repositories, to be precise. And now there are some other commands. One is quick view, which I like. And we'll have, of course, a similar output of what we had before. So Docker Scout, quick view, and then we can decide one specific image on Docker Hub, like I'm using this Java one, because I made a tutorial about Java. Okay, and let's see if we have an output here. It's taking a while. This is bomb, pulled. Okay, let me see. This is a pretty nice output, just showing that we can do this directly from the command line. Let's go on the next one that we can, to check basically some of the vulnerabilities. So again, Docker Scout, on the we can use this on the same image, of course, CVES. And then, okay, and this is basically, it's just a UI issue, so it's the same that we had also on the Docker Hub, I think very similar. And last one, I think it's the recommendations. So Docker Scout recommendations. It's a bit long to type, so recommendations with the same image. Okay. Okay, and I already made it. So just to tell you that the important part here is not the single command, but to understand that we have this Docker Scout something, and you can check the documentation. This is a very new feature, so it's still early access. Nice. So demo. It's done. And now, let's go here. Okay, so nice. So this was Docker Scout in a nutshell. And now the very last one, I think that this might be very useful, and it's called Docker Compose File Watch. Again, anybody have heard about this? No? Oh, okay. Thank you. Nice. Okay, so what does a Docker Compose File Watch does? Let's see. So it automatically basically updates the services when there are some changes in the Docker Compose. And this has been something that I've tried, for example, to set up NodeMon with Docker, with bind mount. How many of you have ever tried at least to do this sort of hot reload using containers? Okay, so basically this is what they do. They wanted to do something, let's say, more at high level, so that works basically with all the different technologies, which I think that it's not very easy to achieve. So how they want to do this? Basically, you can add something in the Docker Compose file. You see, this is the interesting. This X develop for now. Of course, this will change in the future. And if you're familiar with the Docker Compose, you see for this service called the web, there is this build and command that you should be familiar with. But this X develop, I was not, for example. And we have these other let's say key value pairs. We have a watch and an action. a watch and then different actions. Usually we do just one. We will do this also a very minimal add-on on the last project. So as a rules for this path, these paths have to be relative to the existing context of the build, and all the directories are watched like recursively inside all of them, and there are also the rules that usually apply to all the Docker ignore. So we can so using these include, exclude, and all the other stuff like the .git directories ignored automatically. To be honest, I've always added the .git in the Docker ignore. So okay. But how can we configure this? So we have this xdevelop, and then we have this watch attribute, and then we have basically these rules, and each rules has to have at least, there are also other options, but let's say at least a path and action. This is what we'll do now. Like we'll do like a very minimal setup. So these two ones, and then there are two for now. There are just two possible actions: sync and rebuild. So the sync is ideal if we already have the hot reload in our application. And for example, we will see that it's not optimal for a JavaScript project. But let's say this is more like very high level. So we can use this sync to synchronize when there is a change, and then it synchronizes the existing project. And of course, we can do this with by mounts and all the other use cases for developers. So as I said, about JavaScript, it's not recommended to use this sync because usually we don't bring node modules with ourselves. We put them in .git ignore. We let, even without the containers, we let the other people to do npm install and so on. So they say in the documentation that for now it's better to use the other one for if we are using a JavaScript project, which is the one that we will do, of course. So we should never like bring around this node modules folder, also because we know all the memes about the sides and so on. So again, so even if JavaScript is interpreted, usually these npm packages is better to keep them on your local machine. And so we'll make a very simple example of this rebuild that basically rebuilds the new image, let's say, in brute force. But if it works, I think it's nice. So, and this is also for compiled. So rebuild is suggested for compiled languages and also for these, for example, project have this package.json like we have in our project. And so in the future, of course, this watch mode is not just about JavaScript. It doesn't have to be always just about JavaScript. So can be used in different languages and frameworks, but they have this, I think, a very ambitious idea to make this like hot reload for all the possible applications, but we will see. So, for example, this can be done, I never tried this so far, but we can also try this with Python and Flask. Maybe you can give it a try. In this case, requirements.txt is the file, sort of package.json for Flask applications. So how can we use this watch? By the way, there is also this link when there are some examples, of course, of this of Docker Compose file watch. And so how do we use it? We run our project in our, so we need to define the Docker Compose file. Then we run our project separately. We can use this in detached or in another terminal if we want. We'll show this soon. And then we do this one, Docker Compose alpha watch. I don't know. It's this is the command. Probably this will change in the future, but for now, this is the command that we run on a separate terminal for now. Start one, and then we can try to edit this service and see if this does work. So we are, of course, this is experimental. So disclaimer: be careful. So let's go with the last demo, and then we're done. So, okay, so I have to go here because I took these parts, and then I'll put this one in the Docker Compose file. Okay, so as you said, I'll try to make this example as minimal as possible. So we have this one. I'll take this. So do you remember the amazing project that I was doing before? This one in the compose.yml. Here, below the ports, we can add this part. I don't think that GitHub Copilot can help here, probably for in a while. So we have this, and again, we have watch, and then action rebuild. And then the path, we can define a folder, we can define whatever we want. In this case, I'll just use index.js. Okay, so now let's see if this does work or not. So clear. Okay, so this is the new Docker Compose file. So first of all, let's do Docker Compose app -- build. So this should not change anything. So we should have the same project as before. Let's see. Here. Let's see if still here. Localhost. Okay, so we have this. Now, the fun part. So we can go here, create another terminal here on the side. It was Docker Compose alpha. Docker Compose alpha watch. Okay, let's see. No. No. It was not watch. Let me check. This is the level of memory I have. I'm sorry. Compose app. No. Docker Compose alpha watch. Alpha watch. It's experimental. Okay. Ah, it worked. Ah, it worked. Okay, I just had to wait a couple of more seconds. Okay, so Docker Compose alpha watch here. Okay, now let's go on the index.js file, and there is this one, hello world. We can change it. We can add this AAA. We save, and you see here we should have let's say a very simple and basic hot reload. Let's go here, and if we refresh, we have the updated version. So now, can this Docker Compose file watch replace all the systems and tools like Nodemon? Probably not, but to get started, maybe for a simple project, is just one command line away. I think it's a nice addition. And I think that we should be done. Just want to say couple of more things. So I think yesterday or this morning we had a new let's say announcement by Docker. They are really working hard on improving the network and make Docker desktop as lightweight as possible. Now, maybe you need to test this on different machines. I don't think that the memes about Docker will ever stop, no matter what. But yes.
Like running a speed test from one Docker container to another or something with this improvement.
Yeah, we should. And but yes. So, but this is like something that I added this slide, to be honest, 1 hour ago. So it's just to see how fast we had to update. But I'm sure that there will still be plenty of memes. So don't worry, we'll still have this. Nice. So I'm done for today. So thank you so much. And we have also some Q&A if you want. Now, I'm Francesco, as a developer advocate at Daily.dev, Docker Captain, and there we can check some links there. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesco. Really great talk. Love those new features. Can't wait to have a play. Already started downloading a few and having a play. I have a question. You mentioned, and it was a small part of your talk, so feel free to skip over this question if you need, but you mentioned the BOM, the bills
BOM.
of, yeah, BOM. No B.
SBOM. Software.
Yes, SBOM. Okay, so I've seen it as BOM without the S. Could you explain a bit more about that? 'Cause I've seen that come up a few more times. I'd be interested to know more about it.
Okay, yes, so I don't think we need the microphone, but no. So I don't know much about this one, so it's kind of new also for me. It seems that they wanted to create a sort of standard to work on this. So it's basically like, for what I got, I might be wrong, is that you have like this list of what is about this image, and then they use this to find the new vulnerability. So I think it's a sort of document, like a CV of the image. This is how I got it, but I read it for the first time before this presentation. So I think it's something new, I think so, but that's the idea.
Hey, thanks for the presentation. I wanted to know more about Docker Scout, and where does it pull like all the information, and how do you compare it with like Snyk and other tools that have been built around kind of like this specific part of security?
Mm-hmm. So as I said, I didn't have much time to make like comparison with other tools. The first thing that it came in my mind, it was exactly Snyk, because first of all, I know the developer advocate there, and I know the tool, I know what they do. I think that the tools like Snyk that have been doing this for a while, they still have, let's say, a huge part in this. My idea is that probably the direction where Docker is going is that probably they will have the information a bit first. They will be like the first, they will keep the information maybe for a while, it's like a newspaper, and then we'll probably spread this. So this is my idea. Now, this can also be not true, that they will just be super transparent, just giving away. The idea, it seems that they are trying to do basically this homemade. So they're basically trying to do the vulnerabilities. But the thing is that tools like Snyk or other tools, they are great for when you go in production. You really know that. You can't really absolutely ignore them. Now, we should make like a comparison. Probably, I don't know, Docker Scout versus Snyk might be a great YouTube video, YouTube title, probably. But the thing is that probably, since that's the official one, slowly over time, it depends how much time they want to dedicate to this. So if they want, if they dedicate, and I think, I'm not sure, it's with the upgrade, so it has a cost, I think, at some point. So I don't know now how does it work. So it will be, I think, a fight of how much the information are appropriate. We will see. I think that, I don't know, if there will be like a big vulnerability and it's just discovered by just one of these two tools, that might be interesting to see why and when, but I think it's very, very early. But it seems that they are trying to do this from scratch again. They are not just using another tool. So they want to do their own official stuff. And of course, Docker Scout is just one line, like I think it probably will be embedded in the Docker desktop. So we will see. We will see, of course. Thank you.
Thanks, Francesco. Just on the software bill of materials. So the bill of materials is historically where you list outside of software. It's basically like the ingredients. So all of the component parts on how to build or repair a product or service. So when it's brought into the software world, you're quite correct. It's pretty much looking at what are the ingredients to build this. So yeah, just to share that with everyone.
Sorry, I didn't get.
Oh, I was just trying to explain what the SBOM, some of the context behind what it means. So, like, if you're building things in like the construction industry, you've got a bill of materials, and that's basically saying, here's all the ingredients to build this item.
Probably.
Mm-hmm. I've got a quick question. Do you feel that possibly with the Docker Watch, that might then plug into things like browser sync, and then maybe be able to orchestrate like with time as it matures?
It might be. For what I saw, I don't know if you checked that I still had to manually refresh the browser. So probably we still need that last step. And I don't know if you need a browser integration for this. Maybe for some use cases there might be. So from my point of view, it's just that I think it's just a way to start. So for sure, I will do this before trying to do a full nodemon setup. And I did a tutorial about Docker and nodemon, but still it takes some hours. Maybe you don't want to focus on doing this before starting coding, or maybe you want to have a hot reload without Docker. Some people do this. They do hot reload without Docker, and then after a while, they Dockerize the project. The problem with this approach is that if you wait for too long before the Dockerization, of course, for simple project, it's not an issue. But if you code for a while using this hot reload, and then at some point you create the Docker file, then you have to decide. You are a bit split. I know because I had this exact issue. So I think it's a good feature to just for what I did. It's simple, and it's good because of course it's agnostic depending on the technology. So it's not nodemon. It's agnostic reload. I don't know if this will be actually achieved. So they seem, or even Docker Init, they seem pretty ambitious project. It's way harder than what it seems, because even just in a single technology, there are 20 different ways to this and more. So yes, we will see. But yes, the idea was just to show something what is super, super new, and that's it.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
I think next time.
And
That's it.
Okay. Nice. Thank you.